All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hour number 2 underway. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. 800-239-WJOX if you would like to chime in on the show. We've been talking Alabama, Indiana, the matchups that are going to be there, the difficulties that Alabama may see with this Indiana defense. We haven't really gotten to the Indiana offense and how they will offset some of what you're going to get there. Before we move on, Greg, tell our listeners about Bromberg's.
Well, Bromberg's has been doing a great job for me and my family for a very long time. Always grateful to the experience I have when I walk in the room. They always do. They're really helpful, I think, when putting you in the direction of where you want to go, what your goals are, what your collection looks like within your family. And it's always great to go there this time of year. So while Christmas is behind us, New Year's still rolling in. Maybe you're thinking about a proposal on New Year's. Maybe you're thinking about doing something here in the new year in 2026. Maybe you have something that you have your eye on. It's never too early to go in and check out what they have in stock at Bromberg's. You can go and see them in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit. This is a group that's been serving this community for 190 years. So go and check them out at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook and Bromberg's at the Summit. And you can always shop online at brombergs.com.
Damien, have you outgrown New Year's Eve yet?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I feel like once that happens, it's over. Like you don't kind of, some years you celebrate, some years you don't. I feel like you're like, oh, New Year's Eve, it's a big deal. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I want no part of that anymore.
Yeah, for the past couple of years, I woke up and it's January 1st. I'm like, okay, well, I made it to another year. Let's roll.
Yeah, that's not one that usually you kind of decide at the last minute if you want to do something. You either know I'm all in on that or I'm not even going to touch that. It's not going to be a part of what I'm doing. Alabama, Indiana, we'll continue that conversation. Scoobs is on the Higginbotham hotline, wants to chime in. Welcome in, Scoobs.
Hey, thank you, guys. Good morning. I hope you guys had a great holiday.
Great. Same to you.
Thank you. Quick question for you. From a schematic standpoint, I mean, I agree with what, Greg was saying earlier. There's not too much as far that you want to break away from when you've seen some, I don't know if you want to call it limited, but areas of growth in that Oklahoma game. My question for the Alabama-Indiana game, is there any ripples that you think that we could see possibly that are new or something that you would like to see that we may have seen some, I guess you could say, small portions of in the Oklahoma game? Because at the end of the day, it is, win or go home. Is there anything new that you think Alabama could show? That's really all I got.
I don't look at it and say, man, I think you need to get to this. I will say maybe more Lassier Brooks, and you don't want to force him the football per se, but give him some more opportunities, Greg, just he's proven in big spots. He can be a guy you can lean on. I mean, like you said earlier, at this point in the season, you kind of are who you are. There's not a lot of reinventing what you're able to do. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. You tweak some things formationally or maybe add a play or two off something that has worked, but I don't think anything drastic sticks out that I feel like Alabama has to or needs to show.
No, I don't think you need to change anything. I think Lottie Brooks is clearly a guy that can be relied upon. I think the downfield passing attack that was utilized against Oklahoma is repeatable. I feel like there were a few times this year when the downfield passes, I don't necessarily mean like 50-yard bombs. I'm talking the 15 to 25 area of the field, kind of deep intermediate area of the field. That's an area on outbreakers that can be helpful. They hadn't thrown a bunch of corners this year. They've thrown a few, not a ton. I think that was helpful, getting them away from the safeties, especially taking advantage of some of the squat technique that Oklahoma played. You'll get some of that from Indiana as well. You're going to see a decent amount of man. So, honestly, decent amount of man from Indiana means that Lottie Brooks, Ryan Williams, your best man player still. While everybody wants to, poo-poo what he's done this year, the guy is still elite when it comes to separating. If teams are going to play man, he's got to be a factor. So those are two guys that I think can have a big day. Jeremy Bernard is a great route runner. He can create some separation. And then Isaiah Horton's length. You get him against D'Angelo Pons, who's at 5'9", great player, all Big Ten type of player. I think fringe All-American type of player. If I can get him in a one-on-one down in the red zone and I get some man, I can take advantage of that length. I mean, that's 7 inches. That is significant. and he's got to get some targets when that matchup presents itself as well.
All right, so Tim wants to chime in on this matchup as well. He's on the Higginbotham Hotline. Welcome into the show, Tim.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Greg, it seems like the Alabama receivers have been dropping more passes lately. Is there a mental issue here, or is it the strength of the pass? Could you help me understand how that can be corrected? Thank you.
Well, I don't know if it's more recently, Cole. I feel like the drops have been kind of consistent this year. Unfortunately, it's kind of been just part of what they are. So, Cole, does it feel like it's been worse the last couple of weeks, more so than it was the first 5 or 6?
I feel like it's been worse since about the halfway point. It's a little bit worse than it was early in the season collectively, but I don't feel like the last 2-3 games it's grown exponentially. No, I mean, it's just a consistency problem. And I think Ryan Williams gets a lot of the blame, a lot of the fingers pointed at him, but there have been others too. I mean, it's not just him. And there have been a few that people have labeled as drops that I don't think have been necessarily drops. They've either been really tough catches, a ball that's been tipped, a contested ball. Those aren't always drops in my opinion. But yeah, the consistency of that group collectively, I think, has been an issue kind of the whole season, but more so from about the midway portion until now. It's just now when you get the SEC championship game and you get a college football playoff game and somebody drops a ball, that's going to be magnified. I mean, that's going to be times 10. People are going to remember that. If there was a ball dropped early in the season against Vandy, which ended up being a kind of comfortable win in the second quarter on 1st and 10, not a lot of people are remembering that one. You're going to remember the ones now, specifically with how those 2 games have gone. A Georgia game that was out of reach and you were trying to get back in it, and an Oklahoma game that for the large majority of it, we were sitting on the edge of our seat. You're going to remember those. So I don't think the last couple of weeks has gotten a lot worse.
No, doesn't feel like it's any worse. I just think that it's been a perpetual issue, and probably because of how much time we're spent talking about it. The more you talk about these things, and it's weird like that, I hate it because you try to make it a point of emphasis. But if you are like, guys, we got to not fumble the football. Fumbles happen. Guys, we got to stop dropping the football. Drops happen. Guys, we got to do a better job against the speed rush. Well, the speed rush gets them. If you make something too big of a deal, it can somehow have a bit of a counterintuitive approach. I hate how that happens, but the more you emphasize something, the more it becomes front of mind and the more it subconsciously comes to fruition. So it's a delicate balance. I don't know how you fix it in season. It's kind of like having the yips when you're playing golf. It's just when you're boning chips, it's hard to get that out of your head, and that's kind of where it's at right now.
Yep. I don't.
It's clearly mental. It's not physical. Like, we know these guys can catch the football. It's clearly mental, and it's clearly a thing, and they're fighting it from time to time for sure. Now, technique-wise, are there a couple of things they can do better? Yeah, be a little bit better with their hands. Maybe don't jump when they try to pull the ball in. There's been a few of those, but man, I mean, it's not much you can do about it right now.
Yeah, wild to think about. We've had these conversations a lot of the season. And we referenced, I think you were out, Greg, when we talked about this last time, some of the conversations that I had with, Jeff Allen about some of the glasses that they're wearing and an app, like a connect the dots or grade the dots app game, something to help eyes, vision with catching the football. I mean, listen, you get credit for trying things, but it feels like at the end of the day, you just get on the jugs machine and physically figure out how to catch the ball. But I've never been a receiver, so it's probably not one for me to judge how you can be better or worse at that. It just feels like there are simpler ways to maybe go about things. I've never heard a guy openly talk about, Damian, maybe you have, that had the drops or was struggling not catching the football, that did certain things and then just got better, other than going and catching more footballs.
That's usually the remedy.
I mean, have you heard of a guy overcoming something, Greg, that like maybe what Brian Thomas Jr. does this offseason, if he comes back and has 110 catches next year, we can say, what did you do? And he says, well, I had this app. I played drop the ball on my phone a lot. and I figured out how to not drop the ball. And drop the ball has
Seems a
nothing to do
little
with catching the football
Yeah, it
or
seems a little
catching
different.
anything, but yeah, whatever. I don't know. I haven't heard of a guy.
I don't know about an app. I don't know about technique. I do think that it's harder to jump the ball, catch the ball when you're jumping. And I don't care what anyone says. Like any one of us, go out and catch the ball, jump when it's approaching. You're gonna decrease the likelihood of you securing it in the same spot it is. And there's way too much jumping, I feel like, in college football nowadays. Like all these guys jump when they catch the ball from time to time. So that I don't think helps. Catching it with your hands, strong hands, all this other stuff. Like the amazing thing to me is with Ryan Williams, guys, he was an All-American last year. Like All-American. One of the top 2 college football players in the country, according to some going into the season, behind Jeremiah Smith. And it just, for whatever reason, it's in his head, man. Like you have to just, and who cares? Catch, maybe he's a different guy. Do. And I think catching the ball, yeah, technique-wise, it can absolutely be helpful. But I don't know if it's the only thing you can do. You know what I mean? It's just you got to get over that mental hurdle.
I don't think there's any doubt. All right, we need to spend a little bit of time on the other side of the football and kind of take a look at what it's going to be like when Alabama is on offense facing that Oklahoma or facing that Indiana defense. We've talked a little bit now about the other side of it. I want to spend some time on that. First, I'm going to tell you about your CBD store. If you are struggling with anxiety or arthritis, they have products that can help your daily routine at your CBD store. Also, if your pet is struggling from arthritis, maybe some of the anxiety when somebody's knocking at the door or the weather comes in, they have products that can help your pets there as well. Skincare, gut health for you or your pet, products that take the edge off in the evenings, help you sleep better. Your CBD store has products that can help with remedy all of these issues in your life. Better focus throughout the course of the day, more energy throughout the course of the day. Go check out the largest brick-and-mortar CBD retailer in the world. See what they can do for you. First company to have USDA-certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal on those products. That's why they meet and achieve a certain set of standards. Visit one of their 3 locations today. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cage in Cleaver, and Trussville just off 459, your CBD store where good health hits home. All right, I want to focus in a little bit now on the Alabama defense when they'll be on the field, what it's going to look like when they're taking on Indiana's offense. We'll do that when we come back. Also, Alejandro Zuniga is going to join us in about 15 minutes. He covers Michigan, give us his thoughts on why this hire was made, why it took so long, and what he expects from the duration of Kyle Whittingham being the Michigan head football coach. All that and more next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy, Cubelic in the morning. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. You can also text into the show, 205-834-9450. We've been talking Alabama, Indiana. The Alabama defense, Craig, caller earlier in the show, outside of all of his brilliant ideas for the Alabama offense, did bring up wanting to see Alabama play more man defense as no zone defense, which I don't know, against an RPO-based offense like this one, kind of where you would want to live and what you might think would be best. Where do you think the Alabama secondary is best suited to have success against this group?
Against RPO, I always want to play man. Always. And then you take into account that the quarterback's not a crazy run threat. He can run it, but he's not a crazy run threat. So yeah, I'd lean on man defense in this matchup for sure. Zone's going to make you wrong. I mean, if your eyes are like, they're going to take advantage. They're going to find conflict defenders, and those conflict defenders in zone are likely to give up a little more space. Now, the good thing with zone is you get hands on the football more. That's why Alabama intercepts a lot more passes nowadays than they once did, because the eyes aren't on the wide receiver, they're on the quarterback. So you see the ball come out of the quarterback's hands, you can break on the ball. But I don't think zone is what you want to be in this matchup. The problem is they have great personnel. They have really good wide receivers. So you better be able to win those one-on-ones. And they're going to get plenty of them. They're going to throw 100 back shoulders. They're going to throw jump balls. They're going to get one-on-one fades. They're going to win. So I mean, these guys are good at wideout. And while I think Alabama's excellent at corner, these winning 50-50 balls against these guys is a tall ask. So you better have tight coverage. You better be in great shape. Better be in great phase. Be good with your hands. But yeah, I'd have a heavy man emphasis in this game.
All right, you can also tweet into the show at Mac at Cube. A couple of people are chiming in. Jolly tweets in, thank you for allowing that gentleman to speak. I think he lost me in the first few sentences, but he damn sure was passionate and confident. Russell Terry
I love the mentality.
I do. I think we all do.
I don't love the plan. I love the mentality, though. I'll never be mad. If you want to have a mentality game plan, I'm great with that.
Let's go.
You're never going to find me pushing back on that.
Coach Harris tweets in at Mac and Cube, LOL, hashtag whatchamacallit offense. Let's go. Mark it up.
Whatchamacallit personnel.
I mean,
see 6 offensive linemen run out there on the field. What you going to do?
With 2 tight ends and
right.
a D lineman.
Come on. What you going to do?
And Proctor split out.
He's definitely on the line.
Mismatch.
Come on, man.
Royal Payne tweets in, as far as tweaks, what about more sugar huddle like OU and fast to the line to stop subs? Actually, don't think that was
sugar huddle's a big part of this game.
Yeah, I don't think that was just to stop subs either. I think it was to slow down some of the movement, and just kind of force them to try and be a little bit more static with as far as what they were doing, kind of moving around or whatever it was.
Get them to communicate. I mean, they run a lot. I mean, if you look at Indiana, like a lot of simulated pressures, a lot of layered pressures. I think he's kind of a defensive coordinator that calls it based on the picture, which is exactly what Venables is. So the later you show him the picture, the less time they have to get set to attack the picture that you're presenting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and it's really interesting because Austin Armstrong, Houston's D coordinator, told me that he's pretty much the opposite, because he was talking about where he stands to call the game, and he said, we just call it defense. And he said, coming up, being around Coach Saban, being around Kirby a little bit and running essentially the same defense, he goes, I've learned over time that having that perfect check for everything, having the perfect call for everything is never going to happen. So now he said, we just call defenses and then we have answers for what we do based on all the different things we can see. We don't try to get into different things. And he's like, so I just call it. It doesn't matter if it's 25 seconds on the clock, 2 seconds on the clock. Like as soon as he gets ready to go, he calls it because of how he looks it down in distance. And as you're stating, Greg, there's a different philosophy of we're going to wait till the very last second to see what you're doing, who you have on the field, what your offense looks like, and then we're going to call it to best suit us. That specific call. And so there are different mindsets with it, but I think there are a couple of things that Alabama was attempting to accomplish there, and I thought it was a great idea right out of the gate, specifically since they hadn't seen that from you a lot.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to be in this game, because I do think it's a picture defense. Some defenses, and it's a lot of it's based on tendencies, field boundary, a lot of field boundary defenses, where you call things based on, all right, hey, field fire zone, boundary fire zone. A lot of it is run formation strength. So where's the tight end? Attack the tight end. Some of it's pass formation strength. Where's their passing strength? Where are there more weapons? If you have 3 wide receivers on one side, 2 on the other, the pass strength is obviously to the side with the 3 wide receivers. So a lot of it's that way. So a lot of people have different philosophies, and some are just picture defenses. They take a picture of what you're in. They know the plays that you run out of that picture, and they call the defense off of it. So if you can get a good beat on what that defensive coordinator, how that defensive coordinator thinks, then you have a pretty good way of being able to handle it. Now, you also do sugar huddle against Oklahoma because they steal signals. So that is also, advantageous as well.
Yeah, try to offset that best you can, because it's against Oklahoma, you're going to get that, and that's going to be a big part of it. Godfather Soul tweets in, how did Iowa, Penn State, and Ohio State defend Indiana? Seems these teams had success. Are there things they can take from those plans, in your opinion?
Penn State just punched them right in the face. They didn't protect very well in that game. They were without their left guard and their left tackle at times in the matchup. So that's one that I think is a little bit tougher to identify. The Iowa defense, I thought, did a really good job of limiting big plays. They did give one up late, and that's what killed them. They kept the ball in front of them. They played a decent amount of man as well. So I think Iowa had the best plan against them. And then I think that the Ohio State game was a little strange because they lost Omar Cooper early, and he's obviously a big play threat. They struggled to be real consistent running it in that game as well. So I think it all starts, to me, the defending them is real simple. Simple in theory. It's simple in theory because it starts by stopping the run. They have the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and they run the ball 55% of the time. Think about that. When was the last time a team ran the ball 55% of the time with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback? Ever?
Florida?
Yeah, because Tebow was a running back.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, I can get on board with that.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't happen a ton, no. But I think that's part of what makes them great is he could go out there and throw 45 times a game.
100%.
But he understands when to hand the ball off. And
100%.
operates the offense.
There's nothing wrong. Running the ball is great. Like I love running the football. If I could run the ball 80% of the time, I'd do it. Nothing would make me happier than that. So I don't have a problem with that. It's just you have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, you'd think there's 55% pass. That's not really what they are. They're a run first outfit. So it starts by stopping the run. 1,000%. Then beyond that, I think you have to be able to lock down the receivers and win your fair share of contested catches. If you play zone against Mendoza, he's going to fit it in the window.
Yeah.
Like, you have to contest the catch. And in the Big Ten, they don't have cover guys like Bama has. They just don't. Like, for example, the guy that is all-world at corner for Oregon right now, Kennedy, was literally a liability in the secondary for Ole Miss last year. They couldn't run him fast enough. Like, he's the one that gave up the touchdown in overtime to LSU that kept them basically out of the playoff. Like, he was a liability for them, and now he's a lockdown guy for Oregon. He's been really good this year. Give him credit for getting better. But these are different. This is a different level of skill from a cover guy standpoint. Igbinosun for Ohio State, who's All-American. He was at Ole Miss. Was a backup at Ole Miss. So these are things that I do think this is a level of cover guy Indiana hasn't seen. So they better be prepared to win on the outside. The Bama corners, that is. It'll be a tough task. No doubt it'll be a tough task. But They need to be able to win those matchups. And then 3, if the pass rush that I saw in the second half against Oklahoma can show up again, man alive, that makes a big difference. Now, Oklahoma was not a real threat running the football in the second half of that football game, so they're able to get a little bit more aggressive and pin their ears back. But if that pass rush can be impactful, it's huge in the game. Because Mendoza, especially against Penn State, did get a little flustered. Played great down the stretch, but did get a little flustered. So I think hitting him and getting after him, making him uncomfortable is something that can be achieved. Not easy, but it can be achieved.
Yeah, for sure. All right. A lot more to get to there, a lot more to unpack, a lot more to talk about there. Nueve Knight tweeting in the show, told Greg to stop making stuff up. Ryan Williams was not an All-American last year. He shouldn't have been either. These are the receivers to be recognized as All-Americans last year. He has Nick Nash, Tetior McMillan, Xavier Restrepo, Travis Hunter, Harold Fannin, and Jeremiah Smith. I do believe he was a freshman All-American, though.
He was.
So
You're correct. Is that an All-American?
Last time I checked.
Last time I checked.
Okay, just making sure.
We gave Harold
I
Fannin.
just want to make sure we're on the same page.
We gave Harold Fannin All-American as a receiver?
I think pass catcher. You know, it's all just labeled in there. Yeah, just.
So you're saying there's gray area?
A little bit.
Oh.
A little bit.
Noted. Okay.
And also.
Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah,
there.
and also when you Google Ryan Williams as well, he is a second-team All-American in 2024.
Oh, wait, hang on a second. You're telling me that he was an All-American?
Listen, I didn't.
It doesn't work.
I don't know. I hadn't checked PFF. That's where I need.
That's so weird.
Until I see the graphic.
I can't believe how weird. Well, I got to stop making stuff up on this show. Just throwing caution to the
Be
wind.
better for the show.
Misinformation. That's the term.
More O linemen catching passes, more D linemen in the backfield, more tight ends on the field, less receivers.
All-American or not.
And you not making stuff up. All those things make the show better.
100%.
Those are the only things we need to do.
Flat out. I'm counting every All-American team forever. I was an All-American. I don't know if you guys know that. Academic, not important.
Atta baby.
Still All-American.
Yes, sir.
Let's not get twisted. You know? Can't take it from me, boys. Can't take it from me. Freshman, AP, second team, who cares? I don't care. All-American is All-American. If you are on any of those lists, I'm obviously removing academic All-American. That's a joke. If you are an academic All-American, you are not an All-American in this conversation. If you're on any of those teams, are you or are you not one of the best players in the country at your position?
Most likely.
Yes, I think that's a safe bet, most of the time. So at one point, Ryan Williams was one of the best players for an entire season in the country at his position. Now some would argue he's not one of the best players on his own team, not even at his own position. Some people would say he's the fourth best option right now, maybe the fifth as far as reliability if you want to include Cuevas. So some people feel that way. I happen to think it's still in there. I happen to think it'd be a great time for that old Ryan Williams to show up in a game like this, in a game that will likely feature a lot of man coverage and would likely be really, really helpful to get a big play or two, and he still might be your best big play threat. So I think Ryan Williams still a dude. Still believe it. I'm not giving up on him. Don't intend on starting. A little down on him for sure, but still think it's in there, and still think in a game like this, it'd be great to have the old guy come back.
A lot of All-Americans at Royal Automotive and former All-Americans as well. If you bought a car off the lot and you want to get it used, it can still be an All-American from Royal. Huge selection that includes almost every make and model at Royal Automotive. Every vehicle's gone through rigorous inspection, and Royal's no-haggle pricing makes car buying experience easy. On-the-spot financing available even if your credit score gives you a challenge. Find the car or truck you need for the price you want, with vehicles starting under $12,000 at Royal Automotive. If you need to sell your ride, Royal, buy it. My friends at Royal Automotive make it quick, easy, and convenient to sell your car right away. I've sold a vehicle to Royal. It was that easy, I assure you. No appointment needed. Royal will go to you no matter if you're buying or selling. Skip Marketplace, avoid shady meetups or getting ghosted. Royal Automotive. Exit 252 or I-65 means Highway 31 of Vestavia. And you can always shop online at royalautomotive.net. Take advantage of Royal's driveway delivery today. Remember, for every ride, there's Royal. The Michigan head coaching search has ended. What do we make of it? We'll discuss it next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. It is 8:34 right here on Jocks. Still a lot to get to, but we're going to talk a little bit more Michigan now with Alejandro Zuniga, who joins us on the Higginbotham hotline. Before he chimes in, Greg, tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. You can trust them in your home. They did your whole home packed up and move. Your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, Alejandro Zuniga joining us on the Higginbotham hotline. Can you just kind of take us through the timeline just around Kyle Whittingham, when these discussions maybe started, and then how Michigan finally landed on him being their next head coach?
Yeah, happy to be on here. It's been a wild few weeks, as I'm sure you guys can imagine, and anyone who's paid attention to college football can imagine. Timeline, it was about 17 days, right, between Sherrod Moore being fired, that was December 10th, and Kyle Whittingham getting hired. Sherrod Moore getting fired and Kyle Whittingham resigning from Utah happened pretty much simultaneously. Michigan ultimately, if to my understanding, their number one choice was Kalen DeBoer. It was someone that they thought they might take a swing at, particularly if Alabama ended up losing to Oklahoma in that first round of the college football playoff. Of course, as we all know, that did not happen. Once Alabama won, advanced to the Rose Bowl, timeline got very constricted for Michigan because, as we all know, the transfer portal opens up on January 2nd. Michigan, the longer it doesn't have a head coach, the more back channeling happens with players, the more uncertainty there is heading into 2026. Michigan has a good young core. So at that point, once Alabama won, kept its season alive, Michigan had to look elsewhere, and Kyle Whittingham, fortunately for Michigan, happened to be on the market. And that's when those conversations started most urgently, and that's when the ball started moving forward, of course, ultimately ending with him being hired as Michigan's coach on the 26th and introduced officially yesterday down here in Orlando ahead of the Citrus Bowl.
Obviously, I mean, the skins on the wall are amazing. And I think a lot of us have the utmost respect for Kyle Whittingham, how he runs a program, and the success and consistency his programs had played with for the last 20-plus years. But as far as being an outsider, a non-Michigan man, I know that's been strange in the past, and it's worked at times once with Bo Schembechler. Everyone else that's ever had success there has been kind of a Michigan man. So what led to them being open to bringing in a guy without Michigan ties?
I just look at the recent history of Michigan football and Michigan athletics, and I think that's your answer right there. From the top of the university on down, the directive and kind of the number one mandate for this coaching search was find someone who is not going to ultimately embarrass or besmirch the name of the University of Michigan. There have just been too many scandals, whether they're football related or not, ultimately, across the athletic department and across the university as a whole over the last few years. Ultimately, yes, the football program is maybe the public-facing arm or the most visible face of a university to a lot of people. But the university, of course, is bigger than that. And the university got to a point where you can't have the athletic department and the football program continuing to kind of sully the name, the reputation of an institution that holds itself to a very high standard. So I think that is why when you look at Michigan looking at candidates, there was a bit of a push to say, okay, maybe we don't want someone with Michigan ties because people with Michigan ties hasn't worked out from a PR standpoint, from a scandal standpoint over the last few years. I think that in part is what made Kyle Whittingham such a good candidate. He's been a proven established coach, 20 plus years as head coach at Utah, 30 plus years with that program. There's no scandal section on his Wikipedia page. There's no controversy section on his Wikipedia page. He has run a clean program, both from a legal perspective and from an NCAA perspective as well. I think the question about culture and how someone who hasn't coached outside of the state of Utah or did not play outside of the state of Utah when he was a collegiate player. That's an open question, and I think that's a fair question. It's an institution in Michigan that, again, holds itself to traditions and standards that maybe are slightly different than the traditions and standards that Kyle Whittingham holds for himself and for his program. I think that they are aligned in many ways, but it will be a bit of a mixing of two different cultures when he's hired. It is an open question how a non-Midwest guy is going to fit in the Midwest, but ultimately, I do think that Michigan's recent history, football, not football related, led to a bit of a widening of the search window to find someone who maybe wasn't the quote unquote Michigan man and would come in with a clean slate and hopefully for everyone involved can maintain that clean slate in terms of the way he runs the program.
Visiting with Alejandro Zuniga, he covers the Michigan Wolverines, talking Kyle Whittingham now taking over as the head coach there in Ann Arbor. Was there a discussion? Was there a lot of thought put into is there a plan for the duration of Kyle Whittingham? Or is it just, as we normally would do, bringing in a new head coach and it goes where it goes?
That's an open question, right? The contract is for 5 years. And when we talked to Kyle Whittingham yesterday and asked him, hey, he says he has a lot left in the tank. We asked him, how much do you think you do have left in the tank? And he said, well, it's a 5-year contract, so 5 years. Of course, with Kyle Whittingham, as we know at the end of his tenure at Utah, the last few years, it was a will he retire, won't he retire? And ultimately, when he did step down a couple weeks ago, people thought he was retiring. So he's 66. He'll be 67 during this next upcoming football season. I'd say that for Michigan, the smart move would be that you start thinking sooner than later about what the succession plan looks like, because Kyle Whittingham, to me, doesn't arrive as a coach that you think is going to be getting a second or third contract down the line. He seems like a one contract type of person. And then, listen, we know he's looking to bring in an offensive coordinator at Utah that he worked with this season. We know he's targeting BYU's defensive coordinator, who, of course, comes from his same coaching tree. Maybe those type of people could be room for the head coaching job down the line. But certainly you think Kyle Whittingham, you're getting, 4 or 5 years, but not 7, 8, 9 and beyond years. It's going to be a somewhat limited run to hopefully stabilize a program that needs some stabilization and potentially set up for a move down the line with someone else as opposed to getting him a second contract, because 66, he's sharp. He looks good for 66, but age comes for us all. And that, when you're 71 facing the question of a next contract or a younger head coach, listen, that's why Utah moved on, right? At some point they had to move on. Michigan will as well. The only question is, how many years can you get out of them?
I think that is a big question. What about his staff? Have we heard any rumblings about coordinators? Have we heard any rumblings about where it's going to go? Because I've only heard him. I haven't heard anything else. But there's very few that trust Kyle Whittingham more than me. I think this is an ideal situation if you can't get DeBoer. And frankly, I'm glad you didn't get DeBoer. It would have not been fun for us. But I do think the staff will matter here. So what have you heard?
Yeah, no, I agree. And quite frankly, I know that there were some people within Michigan who thought DeBoer was worth waiting for even through the Rose Bowl to take that risk just with the chance he might land at Michigan. So I do think highly of him, and I think I'm excited to see where he takes Alabama in the years to come. Back to Whittingham, though, it does sound like he'll be bringing on 7 or 8 new assistants, including a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, keeping maybe 2 or 3 assistants from Michigan's previous staff. I would look at Tony Alford, the running back coach, who is a fantastic recruiter, has one of the top running backs in the country signed, as someone who would be staying on staff. Potentially Kerry Coombs, who was just hired by Michigan, just hired by Sharon Moore days before he was fired. He has ties to Ohio State, which of course includes some ties to Kyle Whittingham. I could see him potentially sticking around as well. but it's going to be a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. He's targeting as offensive coordinator Jason Beck, who was at Utah this year, came from New Mexico previously. And then defensive coordinator, he's been looking at Jay Hill, who was BYU's defensive coordinator this year. Of course, BYU and Utah, two programs that are very tied to the hip, if you will. And of course, with Sataki in charge at BYU, who's a disciple of Whittingham's, a lot of that coaching tree, a lot of those staffs come from that same coaching tree. So that's who he's been targeting. Nothing's official as of yet, but it does seem like Whittingham will be bringing a staff with him that people he's worked with closely as recently as this year at Utah, and of course the last couple of years in terms of Jay Hill and BYU.
Well, Alejandro, we appreciate you kind of giving us some insight as to how this went down, where it is, and where it might go. We're excited to see it. Thanks for the coverage, and we'll have you back again soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Alejandro Zuniga covers the Michigan Wolverines, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline to discuss Kyle Whittingham as the next Michigan head coach. Really interesting stuff him there. We'll talk college football coming up today and tomorrow next right here on Jocks.
Welcome back, McElroy Cubelic. December 29th, just a couple shows left here. Amazing weekend of college football. I don't know how much everyone watched. I hope everyone had a terrific week. I feel like Cole said in the first part of the show, it's wild. I mean, goodness gracious. I don't feel like I've been on the show in forever. But here we are. Longest break I think I've had from Mac and Cube, with the exception of spring break last year. And man, what a time to take it. It's a lot going on, but we were able to kind of sum up the first round games. We'll now have a couple days to sum up what things look like for these quarterfinal matchups. Of course, Alabama and Indiana is the one we'll spend the most time on, understandably. That's the Rose Bowl. But here in the next segment, I want to dive into a couple of the other matchups because there are some good ones. You have Ohio State and Miami. We want to make sure we get to that. That game will be played just 2 days from now. So, I mean, it's kind of sneaking up on us pretty quickly. Ohio State looked like a juggernaut up until the last game of the year. And then Indiana flat out just punched them, kind of out-gritted them. Kind of strange to watch. But we'll see exactly what that matchup looks like, what it could come down to. So we'll hit that one. We'll also hit the Orange Bowl, which if you don't have a dog in the fight, if your team is not playing, it's probably one of the more intriguing matchups of the entire round, if not the most intriguing matchup. Now, not by way of brand, not by way of sex appeal. It's kind of a new blood in Texas Tech against a Nike blood in Oregon. It's strange, but there's a bunch of layers to that one where Oregon's going to be playing a game at 9:00 a.m. Pacific time, biggest game of their season. They've handled it before. They've gone on the road, crossed 3 time zones a few times, but that's weird. They arrived yesterday. Getting acclimated to the humidity of South Florida is something that is also challenging. Like, there's things about that are tricky. For sure. We'll document that, but we'll go beyond it because that matchup to me has a lot of layers to it, and one that I think if you are a college football fan, one that is absolute must-watch television. And then, of course, the Sugar Bowl, a game that I'll be calling alongside Sean McDonough, Molly McGrath, and Laura Rutledge. And it's when you dive into that matchup between Ole Miss and Georgia, the thing that's most miraculous about that game is that game was played in late October. They matched up. Georgia was in a 9-point hole going into the fourth quarter. And they were able to eliminate that hole, eventually win the game by 8. They outscored Ole Miss 17-zip in the fourth quarter of that football game. But Ole Miss could do anything and everything they wanted offensively in the first 5 possessions. They went 5 straight possessions in the game scoring touchdowns, including a 75-yard catch and run, several sustained drives, and some miraculous plays made by their quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss. I also think that was Gunnar Stockton's best day as the Georgia starting quarterback. So we'll absolutely be talking about that game as well. Because I know it's my game. I get it. I think there's a lot of intrigue around that. The perception of Georgia and the way they've altered and changed, particularly on defense, is a very real perception. They've changed a lot. We'll document how. But Ole Miss, I think, is better now than they were then, too. I think Ole Miss, their improvements that they've made as a team have been far overshadowed by the improvements that Georgia's made as well. So I think that's a game that could come down to the wire as well. So I don't think there's a matchup here in this second round that doesn't fire me up. Of course, naturally, as an Alabama man, the Rose Bowl is the most intriguing. If you were to remove my association with the Tide, the most intriguing game might be the Orange Bowl, and that might be the least sexy. So it should be very, very fun, and we're very much looking forward to it. Of course, things will get underway on ESPN 6:30 on New Year's Eve. Also want to tell you about Bill Smith Buick GMC. They're the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. It's a great time to go up in the next couple days. They're open. Go up in the next couple days and take advantage of some year-end savings. The deals right now that you'll find on the lot are off the charts. I don't think you'll find a better deal anywhere. And that's not just this time of year, but especially this time of year. You can go get yourself a GMC Sierra 2500 Denali Ultimate. It's literally like my dream vehicle. And I want one so bad. I just don't know where I can park it. Not important. But the GMC Sierra 2500 Denali Ultimate, $97,530 is the list price. You could take $12,000 off the sticker, get it for $85,530. It's the nicest truck on the road. And it's got the utility that you love with that big heavy-duty engine, diesel engine. It's so sweet. $12,000 off that price, and you can get that by taking the short drive up to Coleman, I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. And you can shop online have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com. Damian, what we want to get to your phone calls too, by the way, 800-239-9569 here in the next hour. We'll be doing Max Ball mostly tomorrow, so if you want to get in, the next hour is the time to do it. We'll have Richard Hendricks at the bottom of the hour as well to talk a little hoop, just to give us an update with what's going on there on the hardwood as well. But Damian, of all these matchups here in this round, removing Indiana and Alabama, which is the one that intrigues you the most?
I think the rematch between Ole Miss and Georgia. Now Georgia hadn't played in essentially a month. Ole Miss, fresh off that win against Tulane. Are they starting to peak now? Are they starting to kind of put some things together because they have played an extra game? Now they know what it's like to play without Lane Kiffin. Again, Georgia, does this momentum stop? Because after that Alabama loss, it seems as though they were starting to trend in the right direction. But now that you had this deep of a layoff, I know Kirby's cerebral with it, but could they have some signs of rust where Ole Miss may jump out on them quick? Are they still going to be able to overcome like they have in most of these games? Kind of, that initial surge. Can they continue to battle back just having this deep of a layoff?
And I don't think we've talked about that a lot this year. The matchups are a little different, of course. Last year with the Big 12 champ getting a first-round bye, with Boise State getting a first-round bye, it feels a little different. All the teams that are now advancing to the second round by way of a bye feel like they deserve it. So I feel like the matchups are a little bit better in their favor. But at the same time, last year, if you go back and look at it, there were a lot of critical mistakes made by those teams that were coming off a 4-week layoff. And whether it was missed tackles, it was poor angles, special teams snafus, allowing big kick returns. Those are the areas of your team that are hard to replicate when you're in practice mode for 4 weeks. So we'll talk about that as well. We will move along here in hour number 3 on a full quarterfinal breakdown right here on Mac and Q.